This is lecture 20, How Did the Factory Change the Way People Live? We're going to talk about urbanization, class tensions, and positive effects of urbanization. The best example of urbanization in England during the Industrial Revolution was Manchester. I apologize, I have a little misspelling mistake right here. People started moving to the cities. That is actually the definition of urbanization. And Manchester is the best example in the 19th century. Manchester's population grew from 45,000 to 300,000. And a visitor to Manchester, as you read, Alexis de Tocqueville once wrote, "From this filthy sewer, pure gold flows." And what that means is Manchester was incredibly dirty, but it was also incredibly profitable. And most of the profits came from the cotton industry. They were selling textiles around the world. So the next thing we have to talk about is living conditions. People moved to Manchester so quickly that they didn't have time to build everything. And back then, there was no building plans or blueprints. There's no building codes. There's no inspector to come around and make sure that everything's safe. There's no running water. And all this pollution from the factories led to cholera outbreaks. Cholera, unfortunately, a disease that gives you diarrhea so badly you can actually dehydrate and die. And it has a very strong impact upon population. Right over here is a very famous chart from the Industrial Revolution done in the 1840s about average age of death. So in like 1840, the average age of death for gentlemen and professional people in Manchester was 38. For tradesmen, it was 20. For laborers, it's 17. Contrast that with Rutland, where laborers lived till 39, tradesmen lived to 41, and gentlemen lived till 52. And you can see that it's having a huge impact on people's life. It's so bad, it's so dirty, that most kids who start working at the ages of 5, they die by the age of 17. And the reason is the working conditions were so bad. The machines never rested, and the average worker worked about 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And the factories were really unlit and unclean. And not only that, the thing that was used to produce the machines, or used to run the machines, the steam engine, was coal. And here you can see somebody pulling a cart of coal right here, and then there's guys pushing it behind because they're pushing it uphill. And the coal shaft is so narrow they can't even stand up. And what happened if this guy let go? Well, the cart would run back and run these two guys over and kill them. There's no welfare, so if you get hurt, you can't work, that's it. Your family's out of luck. Now, the working conditions are bad, the living conditions are bad, there's lots of urbanization, but there also creates this class tension, and it revolutionizes social structure. And as you read, the upper class were these wealthy, these merchants, and these factories owners, best exemplified by the Victorian dandy. This is a very well-dressed gentleman. Here you have a picture of two Victorian dandies. They're dressed in the latest fashion, the top hats, the silk shirts, the cotton tweeds, and all that other thing. So they're looking really good, but they're living off the efforts of others, and they look down upon the middle class. Now, this is the greatest invention of the Industrial Revolution. It changes the class structure. We have a huge growth in the middle class. Upper middle class, which includes most people from Brea, are government employees, doctors, lawyers, and managers. In the lower middle class, you have factory overseers, the people who are in charge of factories on the day-to-day stuff, and skilled workers like a carpenter or a plumber. Although, ironically, today, plumbers can make just as much as doctors in our society, because plumbing is that hard job. At the very bottom, you have the working class. These are the people who actually worked on the factory floor or mined the coal. And here's somebody that I've always found really interesting. There's this mythical figure in England named Ned Ludd. And his followers, the Luddites, were people who destroyed technology as a way to save their jobs. They would burn the weaving machines to save the weavers, or they would burn the spinning jennies so the spinsters would have a job. Now, there were some positive effects of the Industrial Revolution, most famously the standard of living. And the standard of living is defined as the degree of wealth and material comfort available to a person or a community. Here at Brea, we have a very high standard of living. There's a lot of material comfort available. We've got running water, we've got electricity, we've got air conditioning, we've got heat. And this Industrial Revolution, because it's raising the standard of living, there's jobs available. There's very low unemployment, unlike these people here who are standing in line waiting for a job. And even the wealth of the nation. Before the Industrial Revolution, there was the really wealthy and the really poor. There was nothing in between. But now, because of the Industrial Revolution, we have the middle class. Finally, it really improved life for everybody, especially after 1850. And that year is important because that's the year when people started getting sewage systems throughout England and throughout much of the world today, we take it for granted. But running sewage, running water, things that take our feces and urine away is actually very important if you live in an urban area. The other big invention is what you guys are in now. Without the Industrial Revolution, we would not have made children go to school. We realized that children working was so bad for them that we forbid them from working. We passed all these laws. And even today here in America, you have to be at least 16 to work or 15 to work. But back then, when they passed these types of laws, what do you do with these kids all day? Well, we have a demand for engineers and professional workers, and we've limited children's hours, how much they can work. Let's create institutions for them to go to learn to read and write so they can be engineers and professional workers. We'll call them schools. Now, the long-term impact, it's still happening today. If you've ever had a new cell phone with a new camera, or you've got a new iPad or a new computer, that's the Industrial Revolution. They're always improving. But in the 19th century, we start to afford consumer goods that were luxuries. Everybody can afford them. Everybody in England can get fine china. They can actually get personal plates, like my wife and I did when we got married. You can have a variety of clothing. There are some people here on campus who never have to wear the same outfit twice. You can get a car. Everybody here can afford a car, even the poorest. There's food. We're very lucky here in America. Even if you're so poor that you can afford food, we have government that can provide food for you. And we also have something new that develops called unions, which are institutions designed to protect workers' rights. Here is a political cartoon from the Industrial Worker magazine of 1913 that says labor is the one that is the goose that lays the golden egg. The surplus value is given to the wealthy owner who takes it all. And the labor force is the one that produces it all. That is lecture number 20, Impact of Industrialization.